Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this explosive edition of our show where we're diving headfirst into one of the most talked about meltdowns in daytime television history, the unforgettable moment when country music superstar Reba McEntire stormed off the set of The View following a blistering clash with the formidable Whoopi Goldberg. Picture this, it's a bright Tuesday morning in the heart of New York City. The kind of crisp autumn day where the leaves are just starting to turn gold outside the ABC studios on the Upper West Side, and the energy inside is buzzing with the usual mix of laughter, debate, and that signature View hot seat tension that keeps millions glued to their screens every weekday. The View, that iconic round table of sharp-witted women who've been dishing on everything from politics to pop culture since 1997, is in full swing, with co-hosts Joy Behar cracking wise about the latest celebrity scandal, Sunny Hostin dropping legal insights with her trademark poise, Sarah Haynes keeping things light with her relatable mom vibes, Alyssa Farah Griffin bringing that fresh conservative perspective, and of course, the one and only Whoopi Goldberg, the EGOT-winning powerhouse whose unfiltered opinions have both launched careers and torched bridges for decades. Today, though, the guest of honor is none other than Reba McEntire, the Oklahoma-born firecracker who's sold over 75 million records worldwide, starred in hit sitcoms, Broadway shows, and even conquered the Super Bowl stage with her powerhouse vocals, all while embodying that down-home, red-state resilience that endears her to fans from Tulsa to Times Square. Reba, at 70 years young, is there to promote her latest venture, a star-turning role in a Netflix revival of her classic sitcom Reba, but more importantly, to chat about her new memoir, Not That Fancy, which peels back the curtain on her life from ranch girl to reigning queen of country, touching on everything from her heartbreaking divorces to her triumphant comeback after personal tragedies like the plane crash that claimed 8 of her bandmates in 1991. The audience is electric, applauding wildly as Reba struts onto the set in her signature style, a pair of perfectly fitted jeans, a fringe leather jacket that screams Western chic, cowboy boots polished to a shine, and that fiery red hair cascading like a sunset over the plains, her smile as warm as a shot of Tennessee whiskey. Whoopi, seated at the center of the curved table with her arms crossed and that knowing glint in her eye, leans in with a grin that's equal parts welcoming and predatory, saying, "Reba, honey, sit your fabulous self down, we've got some real talk ahead." The band plays a quick snippet of Fancy, Reba's signature anthem of rags to riches grit, and the crowd erupts again, but beneath the cheers, there's an undercurrent of anticipation because everyone knows The View doesn't do fluff, it's where guests come to bare their souls or, sometimes, have them shredded live on air. As the applause dies down, Joy kicks things off lightheartedly, gushing about Reba's enduring appeal. "Reba, you've been breaking hearts and Nashville charts since the 70s. How do you keep that spark when the world's gone all TikTok and Taylor Swift?" Reba laughs that infectious laugh of hers, the one that sounds like wind chimes on a porch swing, and replies, "Darlin', it's all about staying true to who you are, boots on the ground, heart in the music, and never forgetting where you came from, no matter how many spotlights try to blind you." The panel nods appreciatively, Sunny adding a nod to Reba's philanthropy with her Reba's Ranch for abused children, and Sarah sharing a quick story about how Reba's songs got her through her own tough times as a new mom. But then, as the conversation meanders toward the meatier topics in Reba's memoir like her views on faith, family values, and the cultural shifts she's witnessed in country music over 5 decades, as Whoopi's demeanor shifts ever so subtly. She's always been the queen of calling out what she sees as hypocrisy or outdated thinking, and today, with Reba's book hitting shelves amid a wave of progressive reckonings in entertainment, Whoopi smells blood in the water, leaning forward, her voice dropping to that signature husky timbre that's commanded stages from The Color Purple to The Tonight Show. She says, "Reba, I love me some country, so you know I do, girl, but let's get real for a second. In this book, you're talking all about keeping it not that fancy, sticking to your guns on traditional values, but honey, the world's changin'. We've got folks out here fightin' for equality, for rights that your generation maybe took for granted or didn't even question. So, tell me, how does a woman like you, who's built an empire on that heartland heart, Square that with the younger fans who want their icons to evolve, to speak up on the big issues like abortion rights or LGBTQ acceptance, things that ain't exactly Sunday school in Oklahoma. The studio falls into a hush, the audience shifting uncomfortably in their seats, a few gasps rippling through like whispers in a confessional. Reba's smile falters for the first time, her green eyes narrowing just a touch as she processes the pivot from praise to probe. But she's no rookie. She's faced hecklers in honky-tonks and critics in boardrooms, so she straightens up, that steel spine forged in the fires of loss and reinvention kicking in. Whoopi, I appreciate you skin straight, no sugarcoating here. Reba starts, her Oklahoma twang thickening with emotion. But let me be clear as a bell on a still night, my life's about love, hard work, and lifting folks up, not tearing 'em down. I've lost more than most to my mama, my marriages, those boys in that plane crash, and through it all, faith's been my anchor, family my foundation. Now, on these issues you mention, I believe in living and letting live. Everybody's got their path, their pain, their prayers. But I ain't gonna apologize for holding dear to what got me here: marriage between a man and a woman, life starting at conception, cause that's what my heart and the good book tell me. That don't make me hateful, it makes me honest. And if the young guns want something different, God bless 'em, let 'em sing their songs, wave their flags, but don't come at me saying I gotta change my tune to stay relevant, cause relevance ain't about chasing trends, it's about touching souls. And honey, I've been doing that since before streaming was a word. The audience erupts in a mix of cheers and murmurs, some standing for Reba's unapologetic fire, others nodding along with Whoopi's implied challenge, and the other co-hosts jump into media Alyssa praising Reba's authenticity as a bridge builder in divided times, Joy quipping about how both women are warriors in heels. But Whoopi isn't done, her eyes flash with that intellectual intensity that's made her a cultural lightning rod, and she fires back, "Oh, Reba, I hear you on the heart stuff. Ain't nobody questioning your grit or your gifts, but let's not play coy. When you say livin' and lettin' live but then endorse politicians or causes that troll back rights for folks who don't fit your mold, that's not just personal faith, that's power, and it hurts people. I've marched for equality my whole life, from civil rights to women's marches, and I gotta call it like I see it. Sometimes, that traditional values talk sounds an awful lot like gatekeeping. Keeping the club exclusive while the rest of us fight for a seat at the table. You wanna talk relevance? It's relevant when your words echo in courtrooms and voting booths, deciding who gets to love who they love or control their own bodies. The tension crackles like static on a bad radio signal, the studio lights seeming hotter, the air thicker, as Reba's face flushes not with anger yet, but with the raw sting of being cornered in a space she thought was friendly turf. She takes a slow sip of water, buying a beat, then leans in herself, voice steady but laced with that southern steel. "Whoopi, darlin', I respect your marches, your voice, Lord knows you've earned it more than most, but don't paint me as some villain in a white hat holding folks back. I've opened my home, my heart, my shows to all kinds of gay friends in my band, trans kids writing me letters, folks from every color under the sun. My faith ain't a weapon, it's a well I draw from. And on politics, I vote my conscience, same as you vote yours. If that's power, then so be it. But I ain't hurtin' nobody, I'm healin', through song, through story. You wanna talk hurt? Try losing 8 souls in a heartbeat and still getting up to sing the next night. That's my relevance, rising above, not tearing down." The back and forth escalates from there, the panel fracturing into a cacophony of overlapping voices, Sunny defending the nuance of faith in public life, Sarah trying to pivot to Reba's new album tracks, but Whoopi and Reba locked in a verbal duel that's equal parts respectful and ruthless, each woman a titan refusing to yield an inch. Viewers at home are live tweeting furiously. Hashtags like #Reba vs Whoopi and #ViewClash trending worldwide within minutes. Clips going viral on TikTok and Instagram Reels, fans divided into camps, Team Reba cheering her for standing her ground like a lone star in a storm, Team Whoopi applauding her for holding celebrities accountable in the age of performative allyship. Back in the studio, as the argument hits fever pitch, a Whoopi accusing Reba of romanticizing the past at the expense of progress, Reba retorting that progress without roots is just drifting sand at the commercial break looms. But the heat doesn't cool. When the director signals to wrap the segment early, Reba, her chest heaving with unspent emotion, stands abruptly, microphone still clipped to her lapel, and declares, "Yeah, I'll have a good day now, but I think I've said my piece. Ain't no point in talking past each other when hearts are set." With that, she turns on her heel, those cowboy boots clicking like gunfire on the polished floor, and strides offstage, the audience gasping in unison as security scrambles to catch up, not because she's a threat, but because the moment is that seismic. Whoopi, stunned for a split second, a rarity for the quick-witted moderator, calls after her, "Reba, wait, we ain't done lovin' on you." But it's too late. The icon is gone, leaving a stunned panel and a nation buzzing. This wasn't just a walk-off, it was a statement, a line in the sand drawn by two women who've defined eras. And as the credits roll over frozen frames of the chaos, one thing's clear: daytime TV just got a whole lot more dangerous, and Reba McEntire's storming off ain't the end. It's the spark that ignites a firestorm of lawsuits, think pieces, and reckonings yet to come. But hold on, folks, because to understand the full fury of that exit, we gotta rewind to the buildup, the subtle barbs that turned a promo spot into a battlefield, and peel back the layers of these two legends whose worlds collided like thunderheads over the heartland. Reba, after all, didn't just wake up that day ready to rumble. She'd been marinating on these tensions for years, ever since her conservative-leaning posts on social media drew fire from Hollywood's left flank, and Whoopi, ever the provocateur, had been gearing up for a guest who represented everything she loves and loves to challenge about American culture. Let's dive deeper, shall we? Imagine the green room beforehand, where Reba's team is hyping her up with playlists of her hits, makeup artists touching up that flawless glow, while across the hall, the co-hosts are huddling over producer notes that flag potential hot buttons from the memoir of faith, politics, the evolving face of country, with artists like Beyonce copyright dipping toes into the genre. Whoopi, sipping her tea, mutters to Joy, "This could be gold or grenade," and they all chuckle, but there's an edge, because The View thrives on these edges, these moments that bleed into the news cycle and boost ratings by double digits. When Reba arrives, there's hugs all around. Genuine, because Whoopi's interviewed her before, back in the 90s when Reba was promoting her first sitcom, and there was mutual respect then. Two broads who'd clawed their way up in male-dominated worlds. But times change, culture shifts, and now, with America more polarized than a bad divorce, every conversation's a minefield. As Reba settles into the hot seat, the cameras roll, and the first few minutes are golden, laughs over shared stories of Broadway mishaps, Whoopi gushing about Reba's voice as God's own megaphone, Reba teasing Whoopi about her ghost-hunting escapades. It's all flow until that pivot, that question on values that Whoopi lobs like a fastball, and suddenly, the air is electric with unspoken stakes to the sake of authenticity in an industry that rewards reinvention but punishes principle. Reba's response isn't just defense, it's a manifesto, a reminder that country music's soul is in its stories of struggle and salvation, not in chasing cool. Whoopi pushes because that's her job, her clean to unearth truth, even if it draws blood, and in that push, she hits a nerve, questioning not just Reba's views but her place in a woke world that demands alignment or exile. The clash isn't about right or wrong, it's about right now. About two generations grappling with what progress means when it clashes with personal piety. As Reba rises to leave, her exit isn't rage-fueled flight, it's dignified departure, a queen refusing to be dethroned on someone else's stage. Security escorts her not to restrain but to shield, paparazzi already swarming the back exit. Phones out, capturing the aftermath as Reba hops into her waiting SUV, tears streaking her mascara but chin held high. Inside the studio, the panel debriefs in stunned silence, Whoopi shaking her head with a mix of regret and resolve. I pushed too hard? Maybe, but damn if she didn't push back like a champ. And just like that, the internet ignites. Reba's fans flooding X with #StandWithReba, clips racking up 10 million views in hours. Memes of Whoopi's raised eyebrow juxtaposed with Reba's boot stomp going viral. News outlets from Fox to MSNBC weigh in, framing it as red versus blue, Heartland vs. Hollywood, but at its core, it's women being Womena fierce, flawed, fearless. This storm-off isn't trivia, it's a touchstone, a moment that'll be dissected in documentaries and dissertations, proving that even in the glare of fame, vulnerability is the real superpower. But wait, there's more to unpack. The legal eagles circling, the fan wars raging, the way this one walk-off ripples through Reba's tour dates and Whoopi's book sales. Stay tuned as we break it all down, because when titans tussle, the echoes last a lifetime. And speaking of echoes, let's talk about the immediate fallout, the calls flooding ABC switchboards, the statements drafted in crisis mode. Reba, back in her hotel suite overlooking Central Park, doesn't rant or rage. She prays, then picks up her phone to text her kid's son Shelby, who's been her rock since the ranch days, and daughter-in-law Kelly, reminding them, "Mom is okay, just spoke my truth." Meanwhile, across town, Whoopi's team is spinning the segment as passionate dialogue, but insiders whisper of apologies and the works, bridge-mending dinners proposed. Yet, as the day wears on, it's clear this clash has legs, sprinting toward headlines that scream feud of the century and setting the stage for what's next. A lawsuit that could redefine defamation in the digital age. Because Reba McEntire doesn't just sing about fancy, she lives it, and when crossed, she fights back with the ferocity of a woman who's stared down death and danced away. This is just the beginning. Yeah, I'll buckle up for the ride. Fast forward a mere 48 hours after that seismic walk-off, and the entertainment world is still reeling from the Reba-Whoopi showdown on The View. But now, the drama's taken a turn straight out of a Hollywood thriller. Reba McEntire, the queen of country herself, has slapped a staggering $50 million defamation lawsuit right on the doorstep of ABC, The View's production company, and yes, Whoopi Goldberg personally, claiming that the on-air ambush wasn't just tough talk but a malicious public execution designed to tarnish her hard-earned legacy and tank her comeback momentum. Picture the scene. It's Thursday afternoon in a sleek Los Angeles law office overlooking the Hollywood Hills, where Reba's high-powered attorney, a silver-haired shark named Harlan Crow who's won multi-million-dollar settlements for A-listers from Tom Cruise to Taylor Swift, stands at a press conference podium flanked by stacks of legal briefs thicker than Reba's discography, his voice booming with righteous indignation as cameras flash like lightning in a thunderstorm. My client, Miss Reba McEntire, was invited under the pretense of a celebratory interview to promote her groundbreaking memoir and Netflix project.